I'm at the beautiful Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs for the Peak Experience Brian Buffini Convention, and I'm about to go and talk with some of the smartest people in real estate about what we just learned. You get to come along. So, welcome to the first ever Not So Secret Agent podcast live from Peak here in Colorado Springs. Thank you guys for doing that. If you guys want to just introduce yourself, because it's on podcast and they can't see you, and then we'll go from there.
Rick Brandt from Newport News, Virginia.
Heather Roxburgh from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Noelle Banks from Atlanta, Georgia.
Earl Endridge from Delaware and southeastern Pennsylvania.
And Greg Chaplin from Norfolk, Virginia.
So what I wanted to do is start off with what your favorite takeaway from this event was. So let's go ahead and start with Greg because he's got the mic.
Big nuggets for me were that, the theme was Carpe diem, right? Seize the day. And I was just sharing with my buddy Earl that the more things change, the more things stay the same. And that Buffini's original message when I first was exposed to this system of working by referral 20 years ago was to win the day. So as much as we hate to say it, it gets back to the basics. It gets back to taking advantage of each and every day, making the most of it, and that's how we execute. The consistency is the secret, and that just gives us the opportunity to be persistent and continue to work through the process on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was a big one for me. Every day, take it. And every day that we are, impacting people, what we do matters, and it matters forever. Really, you kind of talked about how many days on this earth we're going to be. Yeah. And I did the number. I have 13,855 more days. And I'm going to make sure every single one of those counts. Another big takeaway for me would be he talked about an eagle and how an eagle can live 70 years. And it does so by flying to the mountains and banging its beak against a rock until it falls off so it can grow a new, stronger beak. It plucks out all of its feathers. And then it also, it regrows new claws, and that takes about 150 days. So sometimes we have to break down ourselves to become a better version, and I think we're in a season of that right now. So that's kind of played into a lot of the aspects of the whole experience here. So that's a big one for me.
I liked a lot of what John Acuff had to talk about. One of the things he said is that we're the only species on the planet that can both think and change. So there's a lot of power in that. And he talked about that our thoughts come by choice or chance. So we can actually be intentional about choosing our thoughts and not just letting them come by chance and have that ability to make that change. Another thing he said was that overthinking gets more in the way of goals than anything else. And I tend to be a very meticulous person, so I think that is very crucial for me, not to always overthink, but just the only way through is to do. And so that was powerful in my opinion.
I'm going to kind of go off of what Earl said about the eagle. I think life is all about choices. And when Brian talked about the eagle gets to a certain age and has to make a choice, and he has to make a really hard choice, and it's a painful choice. And I think every day in our lives we have to make choices. My whole life has been all about that. And I really like that analogy. I think, just like Earl said, sometimes you have to go through hard things and choose the hard path to get to the other side of things. So I really like that. And then my absolute favorite was John Acuff. The overthinking piece is big for me because I am the queen of overthinking everything. And so just listening to listening to the book was amazing. I can't wait to read his book about goals. I think just trying to not overthink everything and the amount of time we spend thinking about things that we just need to make a decision. I recently heard a YouTube video it was a therapist, and she was talking about making decisions, and she said, so many people spend their lives trying to make the right decision. She said, I have students and they said, should I go to Harvard? Should I go to Yale? And she said, you know, you could go to Harvard and have a really bad experience and think, well, if I would have gone to Yale, I would have had a great experience. She said, you don't know that. You could have had just as bad of an experience if you had chosen the other school. She said, make the decision and go make it right. And so that is so powerful for me every day when I'm like, Heather, just make the decision and make it right. You don't know what's right or wrong or what the future is going to hold, but you know, he was one of my favorite speakers, so.
Half the time, I think that the decision is not right or wrong necessarily as much as it is right for you.
Yeah.
Like, I think all of those decisions are like, both of them could be right, but they would create a different path, right?
Yeah, but we deliberate so much and we think, if I do this, it's going to be the right thing, or if I do this, and then we overthink it. But just make the decision and make it right. So if you can think that, like, that's a mantra, right? So even when some of the people got up and asked some questions, I'm like, just go make that decision that you made, go make it right. And you won't be in agony anymore over the decision that you made.
And don't spend 8 hours calling all your friends to discuss it before you go and talk to the other person, because you just wasted 8 hours and you could have just.
It just confuses you more, right?
I have a pen. I want to write that down.
I'll send you the video, Earl. I have it.
I was gonna say, there's good news. We are videoing.
But I have the video, make the decision and make it right. I mean, that's really good advice. And I've never heard that before. So it was hugely powerful for me. And I think that just goes along with the overthinking piece. So, your turn.
Okay, well, it's awesome being last.
You're not.
So, well, yeah, good point. So, one of my big takeaways was to being present, right, and just making the most of every day. I really liked how when we talked, or they talked about, can't remember which one it was. Might have been John, but talked about deepening your relationships and going deeper with conversation. Because I don't think I do that a lot. I think I miss the boat some when I'm not doing that. And then also to fight for our time, because when he talked about stealing some time and how distracted we get, and I'm sure we all do, but how we really have to fight to save our time. So.
Yeah, I think that one's big. I recently did the thing where you check what you're doing every 15 minutes. And I literally think I drove in circles most of the day. Like, don't get me wrong, I was making phone calls, I was doing all my activities, but like when you check that and you look at what we're actually doing and what we could be doing and how much more efficient we could be doing if we made that decision earlier, if that makes sense, and like actually planned our day as opposed to let the day happen to us. My big takeaway was read less minds, ask more questions. And actually, I'm gonna give George credit for that, even though he doesn't want to come on camera, because he had said that on the podcast. And that was a big takeaway I got from him, is just asking better questions so that way we know what they want, as opposed to trying to read their mind. You know what I mean? Like, if we ask them, they will tell us what they want. Very cool. Did you guys do any work on the the USP? I kind of struggle with that a little bit.
A little bit with it. It was tough for me to do it there because I had to think about it. And there's so many different things that is our unique selling proposition. We are part of, a community of agents that sell 1 in 8 homes within the whole U.S. I mean, that's a big USP. We are continually training and always getting better, always growing. I find that being a USP. This is not done, by the way. I'm just kind of using my synergistic part and just kind of throwing it out there. I'd love to hear from you guys too. But what else do we do as Buffini agents, or even just any good agent, is we're not just there for the transaction. I have a little line that I did steal it from Brian Buffini, by the way. You don't just rent us; we come with the house. And it's true. We're there. If something's wrong with the roof, we're going to be there. And he said something as well. I don't know who quoted this. We don't close a sale; we open a relationship.
Oh, I like that.
I'm going to try to interject that into some of our marketing because that's big. Just closing the sales where our relationship begins. For most of my clients, I have people that come into events for 15 years. And new clients will say, "Hey, did you just buy a house this year?" Like, no, it was 10 years ago. And it's so powerful for them to hear that. So I think that's a big part of it. Obviously, negotiations, and you can get into where they're trusted advisor, where they're guides. I mean, that's all along that line. But figuring a way to put it into 5 different categories, it's difficult.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's really difficult. I think also going back and listening to our clients, like the testimonials, and reading the testimonials and seeing what they think our USP should be. I think that is kind of what I was going to try. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this has actually been a project that I've been working on with my team now for about 6 months, because when we were at leadership back in September, Brian had an organization come in called Dead Reckoning, and they went through a process of how to develop a USP. And it's basically, if you can picture an isosceles triangle, and it's broken up into thirds. There's the bottom third, the center third, and the top third. The bottom third, what it references is what's referred to as the basics. So this is something that everybody brings to the table. And then the thing that's in the middle, the third in the middle, is the compelling difference. This is what puts me in the top 20%.
Okay.
The tip of the spear is the game changer. That is what the client can only get from me. Or let's not split hairs, a very few people in the marketplace. So we sat down as a team and we developed USPs for working with a buyer. We developed USPs for working with a seller. I developed USPs for my team agents. I developed it for my friends, my colleagues that I represent. I represent you all in the marketplace, and you represent me. So we went through this painstakingly mind dump on every one of these things and developed USPs for each area that we serve. It's a great exercise.
Can you share one?
Okay, let me give you an example. Let's take working with a seller, for example. So the boring basics might be, I'm going to put a sign in your yard, I'm going to put a lockbox on your house, I'm going to help you price the house, I'm going to help you market the house, I'm going to all the things that about every other agent, I'm going to put you on the MLS, all the things. The compelling difference, the thing that puts us in the top 20%, now we're talking trusted advisor. Now we're talking experience in the marketplace. Now we're talking years of experience, the numbers of transactions, the volume, the clients we've served, our reputation, maybe our marketing campaign that puts us really in the top 20%. The game changer for us is we don't just help a person price their house when we put it on the market. Every week we do that analysis. We communicate that analysis to the client so that we call it keeping a pulse of the market. Very few people are ever going to do this. Very few agents are ever going to do this. And what it does is it keeps them informed of everything that's going on around them. It keeps them completely in the conversation of, I've gone to clients and said, hey, we need to raise your price. And they look at me like, what? I said, well, look at this one that just sold down the street. Your same house you got, they just got 10 grand more than you. We need to go up. I've also had the conversation, as you have, it's time to come down.
Yeah.
But when you're giving them this information on a weekly basis, it's never a surprise. They already know, because the data pull goes out, and then my assistant will send that out, and then she'll say, and Greg will follow up with you with any interpretation of this data. And when I follow up and say, look, the market's telling me we're priced a little high, you can see this, and they go, yeah, I saw that. That concerns me a little bit. I think you're right. I think we need to come down.
So do you have that automated, or you're doing the comps every week?
Well, we do. We have a specific data pull. We have basically a sheet. You put the listing data in there, and it goes all the way down. And it will, on different weeks, sometimes we'll pull sold data, sometimes pending data, sometimes active data. Actives every time. You got to know what news coming to the marketplace, right? And I won't get into the mechanics of this thing, but that data pull goes out every week on Tuesday morning, faithfully. And so our clients, we tell them it's coming, then they get it. Accountability, they expect it, they see it, and it gives us the information to be able to course correct them through the selling process. Now, I got to be honest with you, the recent market, we haven't had to do a lot of this, right? Or maybe 1 week, but then the house is gone. But listen, it's still an expectation that our clients have.
And I think it's important to not, like what Rick was talking about, how we were kind of going through the motions a little bit. You know what I mean? It's important for you to do that even in this market.
Yeah.
To continue to make that a part of your
Don't shortcut
plan.
the shortcut, right?
exactly.
Do not don't take value away from your presentation because the market's hot. Go through the whole thing. We've all heard the story that Joe Nego has told about losing a listing one time because he didn't mention that he was going to put the house on what's called the MLS. And he goes, another agent went in there and said, I've got this really cool system. I can load your house in there, and all the other agents in the area are going to know that your house is for sale. And he goes, you mean the MLS? He goes, yeah, that's it. And he lost the listing because he didn't mention he was going to put it on. So that's a basic.
Yeah.
So don't shortcut it because the market's hot. Don't minimize your presentation. Give them the full value. You may not have to implement on certain things because of the market, but you may.
Yeah, and I, just to piggyback, that kind of, what hit me, they talked about sleepwalking. And I think we've been in a sleepwalking market,
No doubt.
right?
No doubt.
Because you put it on the market and you get 5 offers.
Yeah.
You know, so that has caused some complacency. And so I think with what you're doing with that it's very important, even in a hot market.
Even in a hot market, yeah. Yeah.
So what is your resolve? What are you taking back to actually implement in your business? Do you want to start that one, Rick?
Can I cuss?
Sure.
Can I cuss?
Get my shit together.
Say all realtors are
you know,
great. We're good.
You know, we all come to this and we get so full, right? And it's kind of like what someone was saying yesterday on stage. Don't go back to your team and, give them all this, we're changing tomorrow. But I, one of my big takeaways is to implement is to be present, not just be present in life, be present with my family, be present with the team. Make sure, I think it was John, I keep saying going back to John, but he was fantastic. The quote that he said, care about what people care about. It said care about 3 times. I'm butchering it.
Care about-
what people you care about care about.
Yes. And so to me, and I actually had this conversation with Coach James on my last call with him was, how do I get to know my people better? The people that are not just my database people, but the people that work for me. Because it was admin professional day, and one of our agents on the team texted me and said, what is Kim like? I'm thinking, holy crap, I'm not sure. So, so understand what they care about and make sure you're providing that.
I think for me, I was excited to see what Brian was going to do with the movie Groundhog Day. And it was a total different spin than I thought he was going to take with it. I'm like, oh, he's going to talk about my life because it's like the hamster wheel of the same thing over and over and over again, because it kind of is, right? I think for me, a lot of it is being present and it's slowing down because I'm super busy and I'm going way too fast. And I think I need to, going so fast just makes it a lot harder to like make those connections with my clients and stuff. And just like, I can't keep up with text messages. So it's like somehow, some way, figure out how I can slow down, be more present. Anytime Brian talks about how many more days we have to live on this earth, and, when you really look at what's important, it's family, I have grandkids, I don't see them very often, and that's been bothering me a lot. So it's like, how do I plug them back into my life? Just so I see them more. They all live like really close to me. And it's kind of pathetic that me as a grandma, I'm not making a bigger effort, So I think slowing down and just not living in that hamster wheel. And also, I loved what Brian did do with the movie, where, you had Rita, who was really positive, and Phil, who wasn't in the beginning, and he was just doing stupid things, which I don't do that. But just making sure you're always, keeping the positive mindset. Like mindset was a big theme for the event. I feel like they talked a lot about mindset, and I think it's making sure that you stay in that positive mindset and that your team stays in that. And then I can't remember the quote that they said, but and I don't remember who said it, and we were just chatting about it a little bit earlier, but they said, when it's like, we don't do that here. It's like, what if you did do that here? What would that do to your business? So even getting out of the rut of like, this is how we do things, how can we change things so we're not just doing the same things over and over again? Because they work, but could they be better? So,
Well, if we're bored, our clients are going to be bored too. And some of that, we're doing a client movie for the third year in a row.
Yeah.
And it came from COVID, and we were doing drive-in movies, and it was really innovative when I came up with it. And now it's kind of like, okay, well, the attendance is a little lacking, and it's because, like, if we're not excited, how do we expect them to be excited?
yeah.
Noelle?
I'll share something from actually our synergy group lunch that I was, or synergy group that I was leading, and we were talking about just really holding the hands of our clients, really listening to them, what's important, and somebody made the comment of asking the client, "Do you want to be helped or do you want to be hugged?" And I thought that was a really good perspective because sometimes they do just need to kind of vent and you just need to hear them. And taking the time to ask them that question, I thought was really wise, right? I want to hear you, but do you want to be helped or do you want to be hugged? And so I thought that was really good. Switching gears, another thing from John Acuff. I love that he said, "I'm the CEO of my actions, not my outcomes." Again, I think it's just that power of choice and understanding what we can control and what we can't and focusing on what we can. I liked very much how he talked about night me is a great decider, morning me is a great doer. So the power of planning things ahead at night, which I have not been good at doing and I intend to change, to really make that plan, make the decisions, so that in the morning it's just down to execution.
Yeah, I think that's big. I think that's a really big one.
Yeah, there's so many things that, you get fire hosed, like Rick was talking about. And, taking the plane ride home to really go through and decide what's easy to do, what's profitable, and just what's the next step on each one. And I'm just going to go basic with some of the habits and really evaluate where are my habits that I've kind of drifted into that are affecting all parts of my day, life, relationships, whatever, and taking what Charles Duhigg said, looking at where's the cue, what's the the cue and the reward are the most important,
Right.
and then the habit is where you want to insert or change.
That's the thing you're changing. Yeah, yeah.
So finding that reward, he laid out a really great process of trying to figure out what it is,
I thought that the Charles Duhigg part where he was showing like the rat's brain and once they were in a routine and how, and I had read something somewhere that they said why the years fly by as we get older is we're in habits. And so we're literally checking out. Whereas when you're a kid, everything's new. So it takes so long for you to learn all that stuff. I thought that was really interesting.
Stop thinking.
Yeah.
And
And
just go into autopilot.
right. And so like taking ourselves out of that autopilot, planning our day in advance, like you were talking about, Noelle, and like knowing what, don't go into a meeting without knowing what the outcome needs to be, right? Like sometimes we schedule our days so thick that by the time we're getting to the last meeting, we're just showing up,
Yeah.
but we're not really showing up.
Here's an autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
and your clients aren't getting the best of you.
No, and sometimes you're even punting to another meeting, so it's going to take even more time because we're good at BS. Like, I mean, to be honest.
Some of us better than others, I guess. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll go ahead and give you your credit now, Earl. Not a problem.
yeah, no, just being aware of those is key too. Like with the way he explains it, and going back and seeing where it is. Like I know in my morning routine, if that gets messed up, the whole day gets messed up, and I'm chasing the day, and it really starts at night. Like Noelle was talking about. I have a habit where my wife goes to bed and I turn on Netflix, and it's usually some type of superhero show or something she doesn't want to watch, and that's a habit that I drifted into. Where now when she goes to bed, I stop, maybe pick up a book, or maybe I journal what I'm gonna do for the next day. Definitely go through some affirmations because you figure right before you go to bed, you're diving into your subconscious. So why not start programming that from the beginning? Even what you're going to do that next day. Like, who am I calling? I used to have a coach, Billy, he'd say, write down all the people you're going to call the night before. And then really then your subconscious is already thinking about it. And then you're just crossing things off. You're taking the
Thinking.
yeah, you're taking the thinking out of it. It's already decided.
And if you're deciding it ahead of time, you can write everything down and then prioritize that list.
Yeah,
So you're not doing the circle driving.
exactly. Now
Yeah.
the key is to figure out where's the reward, and then or should I start rewarding myself?
Well,
That's the key.
I agree with you on that. I think that is like, I don't know about you guys, but I am really big on keep going. How many things can we get done? And we don't stop. And we don't say, well, why do we do this? What is the reward to this? And then enjoy that reward for a minute, even if it's a walk or like whatever it is, and then go and do the next thing. So that way I think it was Pat Flynn who was talking about it, and he was saying, if you've done your activities and you do those first, your lead gen, your, calls, notes, pop buys, then you're free to do whatever you want the rest of the day. Like you've knocked it out. And you can have, the way I look at it is I get the weekend off from lead gen if I get it done during the week.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if you let something get in the way, hopefully it's a contract and you made some money, then you got to go to work on the weekend.
Well, it goes back to the treadmill that Brian was talking about, right? We've got to make sure we're in the two most important part
Yeah.
of our business, which is, is sales and lead gen. Don't get hung up in the other part of the treadmill.
Yeah.
Sweet. Greg?
Well, the one practical thing that I've committed to walking away from this, or what did he say, resolve? I resolve to do this, and that is to, I'm going back and I'm going to make a gift to everybody on my team, including staff, of a full Real Stunts profile. And kind of taking a page out of Rick's book there to get to know them better.
Yeah.
And not so that I can manipulate them, right, as a leader, but it's the tool for them to understand why they feel the way they feel. And I think if there's anything I took away, in addition to what we've already shared, I thought Rachel Yeaman did a magnificent job of kind of giving me a new appreciation for how powerful that Real Strengths profile is. And it sounds to me like the Buffini Company is really going to start putting that up on a pedestal a little bit and really not just promoting it, but I mean really diving into that. I mean, in fact, that we all received ours when we got here was magnificent.
Yeah, it was. Like reading through that.
I know
That's something.
That's a very practical thing, but that's what I resolved to do.
I was gonna say, no, I like that. The other thing that I would, as far as you guys were talking about, like getting to know our clients, recently, and Earl, I think you and I talked about this on the episode, where we were doing deep dives into social media and like but using social media instead of going and watching the reels or whatever, or copying what realtor you're gonna copy off of or whatever you're doing there, actually looking at what our clients are posting and using that as a reason for our phone calls and a reason for our notes, because we actually know
That's exactly what we did.
what their life is about.
Well, and the important thing was, which you pointed out, is put a timer on that.
Yes.
Because you can get locked, you can get sucked into that, and that's part of one of my habits that I know I have in the morning. And I think I'm working, but I'm on my comfy couch. I should be on the Peloton or doing something, that can move.
I'll call you.
Yes, I need accountability on that. But now what I've been doing is I get on the Peloton and then I start scrolling and doing whatever. So yeah.
And I think that's smart because that's stealing your time back.
Yeah. Well, and then I go through it, and then I'm on the Peloton, and now I'm working out, and I get done. I go upstairs, and now my routine started.
I think Darren
Yeah.
calls that net time, right?
Give it to Greg.
Greg's good at this.
Father Greg.
Rick was ready to take it.
Final word.
Got it late.
I'll just steal a theme from the event, win the
Yep.
day.
I just have to say, being at these events, the content's great. Brian does a great job. Everyone does it's very top notch. Great speakers. But for me, it's being around you guys, and gals. Like, this is what the juice is for me. This is why I think you're even doing this podcast, is to bring this knowledge out to, the public or everybody, other agents. These conversations we have, that just walking down the hall and we see someone, in the lobby. I've made money or had some great conversation just hanging out with random people in random places. So thank you.
People and their businesses. So highlighting Buffini agents has been amazing. But also, I mean, this event just fills my bucket every time I come. I sat with Earl for a little while, and every time I'm around him, he's so positive, he's so happy, he's so joyous, and it just makes me a better person. It's inspiring. Like, it really is. So being around people that are inspiring.
Hold on.
I'll float away.
Don't worry, I'll make
And-
fun of you.
Yeah, okay.
We got
And just
you.
being able to spend time with some of the, the most amazing humans that walk this planet. And I was with some other, actually it was in our Synergy group. When I go back home, I'm surrounded by people, including my team, including my staff, and they set goals and things like that because we teach them to do that. But we're truly with people that are like-minded, that understand what we have to do on a daily basis in this business, and it's not an easy business. No. It is 24/7, it is reactive, it is hard to do your to-do list. Like I can think, Friday I am open, and then it's like, how in the hell did my calendar just get like completely packed and I have no time, and all the things I was going to do and I was going to work on my business, it's not happening on this Friday because it's, So just being able to like be with people that understand that, it feels good. So I appreciate you guys. I love you all, and thanks, Danny.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So I would leave with this: be a Rita, right?
Yeah.
And I think when he was talking about be a Rita, the Peak is really a room full of Ritas.
It is.
The exception of a few, maybe, but I would say it's a room full of Ritas, and that's why you get.
There. I get it.
Sorry,
Earl.
I'm gonna start calling you Rita.
But that's why we come here, right? To get filled by a bunch of Ritas. So be a Rita.
Not a bunch of margaritas.
That's for later.
Those two. Yeah, that happens also. No, I think we're really lucky to be a part of this community. I think to be able to pick up a phone and dial the caliber of people that we can just reach out, and the way everybody's taken the number, like they will take your call and they will get back to you, and they will, hit you with like things that you never thought of. And so the idea that I got to talk to you guys at depth, was really flattering to me. And I say it on the show all the time, like I am the worst realtor on this show, and we will keep it that way because you guys are awesome. Wow, wasn't that an amazing session? I hope that you learned as much as I did. If you have any questions about anything we've been talking about, feel free to reach out to any of the people on the panel, especially if you want to find out information about how to join this amazing community that Brian Buffini and Buffini & Company has created. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Not So Secret Agent podcast.